You didn't see it coming, you weren't looking for it, and yet, the instant your eyes locked, something shifted inside. It wasn't desire, it wasn't infatuation, it was recognition, like meeting a missing part of yourself you didn't know was gone. And the real shock wasn't that you felt it. What truly stunned you was that he felt it too, but he's married, he has a life, a rhythm, someone lies next to him every night. Still, there's an emptiness in him, a quiet part untouched. And somehow you reached it, not with your body, but with your presence, with your energy, with the way you looked at him like he was still alive, not just surviving. This isn't a love story, not in the way most people define it. It's something much deeper, unspoken, and for many women, almost unbearable. Because when a married man feels a soul bond with you, the world doesn't understand what you feel. They see betrayal, they see weakness. They see wrong, but they don't see how it all just happened, how none of it was planned, how you tried to push it away, how you attempted to walk away. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are changed." But what if one of those people is tied to vows, to family, to a life he built long before you appeared? You're left in a strange place. One foot in truth, the other in guilt. You can't explain it. You can't own it. But you also can't unfeel it. The way his eyes soften when you speak. The quiet moments between you that say more than words. The way your chest tightens when he's near, even if the room is full. The soul doesn't care about contracts. It doesn't follow timing. It only knows connection. And when it finds that resonance, it answers. That's what this is. A response. A spark you didn't ask for. A connection he never talks about, but always shows. It's in the silence before he replies, in the lower tone of his voice when you're alone, in how he listens, like he's hearing someone speak his own language for the first time in forever. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about what happens when someone sees your soul and doesn't flinch, when someone finds you in a place even you had forgotten, but he can't be yours, at least not now, maybe not ever. So what do you do with that? Do you hide it? Do you fight it? Do you wait? Or do you turn inward and ask the deeper question? Why did this connection appear in my life? Here's the truth many are afraid to say out loud. Sometimes the most important relationships are the ones that never fully happen. Sometimes their purpose isn't to complete your life, but to awaken it, to reflect the parts of you that were asleep, to remind you that you're still capable of feeling, of glowing, of being moved without ever being touched. That's what he did. He awakened something in you, and maybe you did the same for him, but he won't say it, because if he does, everything changes, and that's what makes it hard. It's real, but it's hidden. It's alive, but kept silent. A married man might never act on it, but he feels it. And if you're deeply intuitive, you know it. You see it in his pauses, in his discomfort, in the way he says your name like it matters more than it should. You also see the struggle in him, because he didn't pick you. He didn't expect you. You weren't in the future he pictured. But there you are, vivid and real, on a canvas already filled. And no matter how often he turns away, you remain there, pressing softly against his soul like a memory he can't erase. And you feel it too. You feel his energy even when he's not around. You sense his withdrawal, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels too much. You hear the silence between you, and it's louder than any conversation. This isn't a crush. This isn't a fantasy. This is something living and breathing that showed up at the wrong moment, and it hurts. Not because it's forbidden, but because it can't be lived out the way you imagined. So here you are, standing at the edge of something that feels like home, but offers no entrance. You ache, not only for him, but for the part of you that came alive in his presence. Because that's the deeper truth. It's not about him, it's about you, who you became when your soul was finally recognized. And the question is no longer, does he feel it? You already know he does. The real question is, what do I do with everything I now feel? Do I shrink? Do I run after him? Or do I grow into the woman this connection woke up? That's where your strength is, not in his actions, but in what you now know. You are not here to be hidden. You are not someone's escape. You are here to be fully seen, fully chosen, fully met. And if this connection reminded you of that, then it wasn't a mistake. It was a mirror, and what you choose to do with that mirror now, that's where your story shifts. So many women try to push it away. They tell themselves it was just a passing moment, a temporary spark, a trick of emotion. But deep down, you know better. The connection may not have turned physical, but it was undeniably true. What makes it hard is that no one acknowledges it, not your friends, not the world, not even him, especially not him. He might act like it never happened. He might pull away to protect his current life. He might pretend you were just a random moment, but his energy always reveals more. You saw it, you felt it, and your feelings don't lie. The hardest part is knowing it woke something in you without giving you a clear direction. You were shown something sacred, then expected to forget it. But how can you? It changed you. It made you question what love really is, what a deep connection should feel like, why someone you never touched could make you feel more alive than someone who's always next to you. And maybe the most painful thought, why did the universe bring him into your life at all? Some say these connections are challenges. Others call them soul agreements written before we were born. Maybe that's true. But one thing is sure, it wasn't random. The timing, the pull, the impossibility. None of it was a mistake, because some souls are meant to meet, not to stay, but to stir, to uncover the hidden parts of you, to break the walls around your heart, and in that breaking, they leave you with a decision. You can close up again, pretend it was nothing, go back to your old self, or you can rise, let the pain become fuel. Let the clarity become light. Let the ache prove that you are still deeply alive, because not every soul connection is meant to last. Some are meant to awaken, to redirect, to heal. And if that's what he was for you, a divine disruption, then honor it. Let it be sacred. Let it be something you carry not in bitterness, but with gratitude, not because he was flawless, but because he reminded you that your soul still speaks, and now you're ready to truly listen. There is deep strength in knowing your soul before trying to understand someone else's. That's why I recommend the Jung method, a gentle tool to help you connect with your intuition and emotional clarity. You'll find the link pinned in the first comment. Now let's go back to that turning point. When a married man feels a soul connection with you, something holy is stirred, but nothing is promised. This isn't a fairy tale. It's not the kind of story where everything lines up, where the ending is written for you. This is the kind of story where the real things happen beneath the surface, where emotions speak louder than words, and where your choices must come from a place deeper than want. What you felt wasn't just attraction, it was awakening. Maybe he felt it too, but here's the truth. Most men never say. Just because someone feels you deeply doesn't mean they're prepared for what that feeling asks of them. He might sense your soul, he might feel drawn to you like gravity, but that doesn't mean he has the bravery to follow it. Sometimes men recognize what's real and still walk away, not because they don't care, but because they're not ready to change the life they've built, even if it's lonely, even if it's quiet. You can be chosen spiritually but rejected physically, and that's where the pain deepens. You begin to question what was real. Was the eye contact imagined? Did the way he paused near you mean anything? Were the silences just politeness or something more? But the soul always knows. The body doesn't lie. Neither does the ache that lingers after he leaves. This is the heartbreak of being seen but not claimed, of being felt but not held, of being the connection he both needs and avoids. So what do you do now? You stop turning his silence into self-blame. You stop making his indecision your heartbreak, and you begin the sacred process of separating your awakening from his lack of action. Because maybe he was never meant to stay. Maybe his role was only to open you, to show you what it feels like to be truly seen. No pretending, no masks, no proving your worth. And once you feel that, you can't go back to who you were. You now know the feeling of soul connection. You now know the sound of emotional resonance. And even if it doesn't turn into more, even if he hides behind his walls, you've been touched by something real. That's the start of healing, but it only becomes transformation when you choose to honor what it showed you, not about him, but about yourself. Because when a woman is awakened by a soul connection, she sees herself clearly. She notices where she's been dimming her light. She realizes how often she's settled. She understands how much she longed to be seen, not just looked at. And that's not something you beg for. That's something you become. You become the space for your own truth. You stop needing anyone to approve it. You become the peace you once searched for in his eyes. You become the answer to the question his presence pulled out of you. And here's the powerful part. When you stop expecting the connection to turn into something, you take your power back. You stop waiting for his call. You stop wishing he'd leave his life. You stop trying to follow a timeline that was never yours. Instead, you move forward holding the knowing, the peace, the memory of what your soul felt, and it changes how you live. It shifts how you choose. You no longer say yes to halfway love. You no longer accept relationships without presence. You no longer ask to be heard when your energy already speaks clearly. You become the woman who doesn't need proof because she's already met herself through him, and that meeting changed everything. But let's also honor the grief. Because there's a quiet heartbreak in this kind of love, the grief of what never happened, the goodbye that was never said, the weight of knowing someone carries you in their heart but will never hold you in their arms. And it's okay to feel that. It's okay to mourn, not for him, but for the version of you that once believed love had to mean forever to be real. Now you know better. Now you understand that sometimes the soul is touched and then let go. Not because it was wrong, but because it was complete. Not every bond is a road. Some are doors, they open you. They shift your energy, and then they fade, not in meaning but in form. This was a doorway. A reminder, a silent revolution inside you, and if you treat it as sacred, it won't shatter you. It will build you. You'll live with more truth. You'll choose with more honesty. You'll love, not with fear, but with wisdom. Because now you've tasted something real, and you don't settle after that. Maybe one day he'll admit it. Maybe he won't, but you won't be stuck waiting. You're already growing. You're already healing. You're already becoming the woman who doesn't need to be chosen. Because she chose herself the moment she let this connection shape her, but not define her. That's your strength now, to carry what was true, to bless it, to release it, to honor your soul and stay whole. You stop asking why he felt it and did nothing, and you start asking what the connection awakened that you now get to keep, because that's the gift. It was never about him, it was about what he stirred in you, and now that is yours. Still, there will be quiet days when the memory comes back, not like a storm, but like a soft shadow, a scent that reminds you of him, a song that brings back a moment, a silence that carries his presence. That's not weakness, that's the cost of feeling deeply. When your soul has been moved, it remembers, not from obsession, but out of respect. Because some people don't just pass through your life, they pass through your soul, and they leave a mark that stays long after they're gone. But don't confuse remembering with longing. You're not going back. You're not waiting. You're standing stronger now in the space where he once awakened you. You're learning how to hold a memory without pain, how to bless what was without needing more, how to feel the echo and still hold your own voice. This is emotional maturity. This is the growth that follows awakening. And one day, you'll meet someone who won't just see your soul and leave. He'll stay. He'll match your depth. He'll speak truth instead of hiding behind excuses. And you'll know him because of what you once felt with the one who couldn't. That's the beauty of soul connections, even when they don't last. They prepare you for what's to come, so don't regret the moment it all began. Honor it because it brought you home to you, and now you move forward, not waiting, not hoping, but fully knowing you were never meant to be forgotten. You were meant to remember who you truly are. And as you walk forward with this deeper awareness, you begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who was left behind, but as someone who was led inward. This connection, as painful and beautiful as it was, redirected your attention back to the very place it belonged, within. And now you notice the shift in your gaze, in your choices, in your boundaries. You no longer entertain energy that feels unsure. You no longer shrink to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You no longer silence your soul to make others feel secure. Because you've been awakened, and that awakening cannot be reversed, you start to notice the difference between attention and presence, between flattery and recognition, between being desired and being deeply understood. And suddenly, the kinds of connections you used to accept no longer satisfy you. You want depth, you want truth, you want someone whose presence doesn't confuse your nervous system, but calms it. And that desire doesn't come from lack, it comes from remembrance. You've remembered your worth, you've remembered what it feels like to be emotionally seen, and that memory now guides you. So when you see him again, if you ever do, you won't fall into the old ache, you won't mistake eye contact for promises. You won't confuse familiar energy with future hope, because now you're rooted in something stronger, yourself. You might smile, you might nod, you might even feel a small tug in your chest, but you'll breathe through it because you'll know, not all soul connections are meant to last forever. Some are only meant to wake you up, and he did that. He was the spark, but you are the flame, and now that you are burning with clarity, you stop needing his warmth. You create your own. You stop needing him to explain what you already understood in silence. You stop needing closure from the one who could never give it, because closure is not always found in a conversation. Sometimes it's found in your own decision to no longer abandon yourself. You no longer chase energy that runs. You no longer beg to be seen by someone who cannot face his own reflection. You become the mirror, and the reflection you hold now is steady, clear, undeniable. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live it, to embody it, to speak it, to walk it, even if it means walking alone. And here's the most beautiful part. You're no longer afraid of that loneliness, because it's not the same anymore. It's not empty. It's full of you, full of your knowing, full of your truth, full of the wisdom that was unlocked through a connection that didn't stay, but still gave you everything you didn't know you needed. And so, you begin to live differently. Not from scarcity, but from fullness. Not from longing, but from wholeness. Not from hoping someone else will see you, but from the knowing that you already do. You make choices that honor your soul. You say yes only to what aligns. You walk away with grace not because it's easy, but because you finally understand your sacred responsibility to yourself. And if ever the memory returns, on a quiet night, in a sudden song, in the gentle pull of what once was, you won't push it away. You'll let it visit, you'll let it speak, you'll let it remind you of the woman you became through the silence, through the ache, through the moment you realized he wasn't meant to stay, but you were. You were always meant to stay with yourself, and that changes everything. And that quiet strength, the kind that builds after heartbreak with no clear ending, becomes your compass. It doesn't make you hard. It doesn't make you bitter. It makes you tender in the most powerful way. It softens the parts of you that once believed you had to earn love. It teaches you that being deeply moved by someone who couldn't choose you was never a punishment. It was an invitation. An invitation to rise, to heal, to remember. Now, when you enter a room, you carry that memory not as pain, but as presence. It lives in your stillness, in the way you don't chase because you've already been found. In the way you don't explain yourself because the ones meant to understand will feel you without words. You don't need attention anymore. You need depth. You don't crave consistency for safety. You crave alignment for peace. And suddenly, everything starts to shift around you. The way people show up, the way you speak, the way your energy no longer bends to be received. You realize the connection that once broke you was really the beginning of your becoming. He was a mirror, not a mistake, a lesson, not a loss, and you no longer need to rewrite the story to feel okay with how it ended, because it didn't end, it transformed. You became the version of yourself who no longer holds back her light in fear that it might overwhelm someone. You became the woman who is no longer waiting for permission to be her full self. You became the soul that doesn't beg for love. It embodies it quietly, powerfully, unapologetically, and when love finds you again, and it will, it won't be confusion disguised as passion. It won't be silence pretending to be safety. It won't be someone seeing your soul and stepping back in fear. It will be someone who recognizes your depth and stays. Someone who doesn't just feel your energy, but honors it. Someone who chooses you not from lack, but from knowing, because you no longer attract from emptiness. You attract from truth, from stillness, from the sacred space within you that no longer tries to prove, convince, or chase. And the most beautiful thing is, you're not even looking. You're just being, fully, gently, honestly, And that energy is what draws everything aligned toward you. You no longer move from longing, you move from presence. You no longer give from depletion, you give from overflow, and that shift changes not just your relationships, but your entire reality. So if the past ever calls you again, not just him, but the version of you that hoped for something that couldn't be, you'll smile with kindness. Not because you want it back, but because you're grateful it happened, because it brought you here, to this clarity, to this power, to this love that no longer needs to be earned. You are no longer waiting for someone to come back. You are walking forward into the life your soul always knew was yours. And along that path, you may still feel echoes, you may still feel tender, but you will never feel lost. Because the moment you stopped chasing love from someone else and started embodying it from within, you came home. And now, nothing real can pass you by. You don't carry him anymore. You carry the gift. You carry the awakening. You carry the version of you who no longer fears being fully seen. And in that truth, you are finally free.